Problem number 1. What value of the expression below? Decimal, a fraction, a decimal, and a fraction. I quickly scan the answers and I see that all of the answers are in decimal form. So I'm going to turn each one of these so I have negative 0.75, it stays the same. Subtract a negative, I add a positive. So I'm going to add 2/5, and in my side work over here, if I divide 5 into 2, it goes 0.4 times. So I'm adding 0.4 plus 0.4, and then 3/4 I know is 0.75. So once I have all my decimals together, I can stack them up. 0.4 and 0.4 is going to be 0.8. 0.75 is going to be 5, 15, 1, and then I noticed I have a negative 75 here, so I'll subtract 75. 5 minus 5 is 0. 5 minus 7, I need to borrow 1. 15 minus 7 is 8, and that is my final answer. 0.8, or selection C. Moving on to question number 2. Some number n is multiplied by negative 5/8, and the result is negative 0.4. Once again, I have a fraction and a decimal. I scan my answers, and this time all of my answers are fractions. So I'm going to change my fractions, my decimal in this case, to a fraction. So all I need to do is write a math sentence from n is multiplied by 0.8, and the result is negative 4. So negative 5/8 times some number n is equal to negative 4/10. So since I'm going to be solving for n, what I want to do is isolate it. So in order to isolate the n, I'm going to multiply 5/8 by its reciprocal, which is 8/5. And I want to also multiply it by a negative, so I know that the two negatives are going to cancel out. But I know if I multiply the left side by negative 8/5, I must also multiply the right side by negative 8/5. This cancels out, and I'm left with n is equal to negative 4 times negative 8 is positive 32, and 10 times 5 is 50. I scan my answer choices, and sure enough, there's no 32/50 there. So I think about what I can do to reduce further. I know that each the denominator and the numerator can be divided by 2. So let's see what happens when I divide the top by 2, the bottom by 2. N is equal to 16/25. And indeed, that is my correct answer. It is answer choice number D. Third question, which expression has the same value as 59.2 minus 84.7? And this has the same value. I really don't even need to solve this. So 59.2 minus 84.7, I scan my answer choices, and I see basically what I'm doing is really just adding a negative 84.7, to a positive 59.2. So all this problem did was put this in parentheses and put the 59.2 at the front. Nothing very special here. The correct answer choice is D. Question number 4 asks, what is 8 divided by 15 divided by negative 0.35? I scan my answer choices, and I see that all of my answer choices are fractions. So I'm going to take my negative 0.35 and simply change it to a fraction. This is 35 divided by 100. And just to make my fraction even easier, I'm going to divide the top and the bottom by 5. And I have 7 divided by 20. So I'm asking myself, what is 8 over 15 divided by 7 over 20? The 8/15 is positive, but the negative 35. So once again, what I'd like to do is remove the 7 over 20th by multiplying it by its reciprocal, 20 over 7. And I'm also going to do that as a negative because I want it to turn into a positive 1. So once I multiply the bottom by the reciprocal, I have to do the same thing to the top. 20 over 7, again it's a negative. Multiply these two things together. To simplify my fraction, I'm going to divide this by 5 and get 3, this by 5 to get 4. And since you don't have calculators, I strongly suggest that you reduce before you multiply. 8 times negative 4 is negative 32. And 7 times 3 is 21. And I look and see if my answer choice is there, and sure enough, it is answer choice number B, letter B. I think we can fit number 5 right here on this paper. So number 5 is a word problem, but it really is just about adding and subtracting integers. It says yesterday the temperature at noon was 11.4 Fahrenheit. By midnight, the temperature had decreased, so it went down by 15.7 degrees. And I can assume that's also Fahrenheit. What was the temperature at midnight? All I need to do really is just subtract 15 from 11.4. Since 15 is bigger than 11.4, I know my final answer is going to be negative. So what I'll do is just subtract 15.7 from 11.4, and I get 3.4, 4.3, but my degrees are negative. So it is negative 4.3 degrees Fahrenheit, and my correct answer is A. And number 6 we can also do on this paper. Number 6 asks, what is the product? Remember, the word product means to multiply. So I'm going to multiply negative 1/4 times negative 3/7. I know my final answer, a negative times a negative, is going to be a positive, and I don't need to look for the same denominator. I just multiply it straight across. 1 times 3 is 3. 4 times 7 is 28, and it's going to be a positive number, 3 divided by 28, and my final answer is C. Don't be fooled by that negative sign. The final answer is positive 28. Question number 7 is very straightforward. It just asks to simplify 4 minus a negative 7. We know when we subtract a negative, we add a positive. Think of it as if I say I am not unhappy, I am happy. So I simply get 4 plus 7 equals 11, and that the correct answer choice is negative 7, A, which is simply 4 plus 7, positive 11. Number 8, I need to show my steps on a complicated looking fraction. So I know that I would use PEMDAS, and I'm going to divide before I add. I have two fractions, 1/2 divided by negative 2/5. So again, I'm going to use my reciprocal here to get rid of the 5/2. It has to be negative so that it's a positive 1. If I multiply the bottom by 5/2, I must also multiply the top by 5/2. So I get times negative 5/2. The bottom disappears. Multiply straight across. 1 times negative 5 is negative 5. And 2 times 2 is going to be positive 4. This simplifies. So I'm left with -5/4 plus -1/4. The denominator is the same, so I'm going to be left with -6/4. I scan my answer choices, and there are none, so I simply reduce this one step further, divide 2 by the top and the bottom, and I get -3/2, which you can leave in this form. When I describe what I just did, I basically say I simplify my fraction, and then I add the negative fraction to the result. And that would be a full 3-point question. For question number 9, we're asked to look at Graham's bank account. And we see that there are -25.20, -22.04, -8.50. So I'm going to add all of the negative numbers together for a total of -55.74. Then I see that there are positive numbers. He added 94.11, he added 52.75, for a total addition of 146.86. So they tell me that at the beginning he had 47.86. This is the beginning, and that's a positive balance. Then we added the positive numbers to the beginning balance. We got 194.72. You can't see that. That's positive. And then we subtract this number here, which is all the number that he withdrew. My final answer then is $138.98 is the balance that is now in the account. This last question, which is a short answer, is very complicated and there's a lot of data in it. So we're going to walk through this step by step. First of all, it gives me a table that talks about a gram of gold. That's a very tiny spectacle of gold. So it says in week 1, it went up $1.25. Week 2, it went down $3.12.5. Then it went slightly back up again, 0.625, and then it went back up again, 1.5. So like in my problem with Graham's bank account, I'm going to add up all of my positive numbers, and I end up with 2 and 5 is 7, 13, carrier 1, $3 and $3.75. But then I'm going to subtract the amount that it went down. It went down by 3.125. So at the end, 5 minus 5, 5, and 2. So basically, the net change over the week from the beginning to the end was 25 cents. That's the answer to the first part of this question, 25 cents. So get to the second part of this question and the explanation. You simply can write all of the things that you did here, which was add the positive changes, subtract the negative change to find a net change or a total change of 25 cents. You can use the word net. The second part of the question says, at the end of week 4, that's right here, the price per gram of gold was 39.28 cents. What was the price per gram of gold at the beginning of week 1? Well, we know that at the end of the week, it just went up by 25 cents. And therefore, if it was 39.28 at the end of the week, at the beginning of this week 1, I'm just going to subtract the 0.250 to find the price at the beginning of the week. So I'm subtracting 0, 3, 0, put my decimal here, 9, and 3. So at the beginning of the week, the price for 1 ounce of gold is just $39.30, which was very cheap. This must have been written a very long time ago, but that's my final answer.